Okay, so this is the technically first Marvel podcast since the Lost podcast of Iron Man.
Yeah, the famous Lost podcast.
We'll just have to re-record it the next time an Infinity War comes out or something. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Incredible Hulk. Do you like the Incredible Hulk as a character, as one of the heroes?
As a character, yeah, I do. I like him. The first time I saw this film, I didn't really know much about the Hulk. I didn't think the Hulk could speak or anything like that. So when I saw the film, I was really confused.
Did you watch a TV show when you were a kid?
No, not the Hulk specifically.
Okay.
More like I was more of the X-Men and Spider-Man, things like that.
But no, do you remember the live-action one with Lou Ferrigno?
Oh no, I never watched that.
Because I used to watch that, and they actually, because there's there's a couple of different references in it, but one of them is he has like a music that plays at the end, because the end of almost every episode is him walking away and like hitchhiking out of town, because he almost has to leave. Like he'll always come into a town, discover a problem, fix the problem, turn into the Hulk, and maybe fix a problem that way, and then everyone would like, what? He's a Hulk, get out of here, and have to leave the town. And they played this really sad piano music, which they brought back in this movie. I thought that was a nice touch.
Okay, yeah, that was nice.
But yeah, you were saying before, like when we were watching it, that you keep mixing up this one with the Ang Lee one, with Eric Bana as the Hulk. Yeah. Which you don't like.
No, I do not like that one. The 2003 or like early 2000s one.
The pre-MCU Hulk. Yeah. Although technically this Hulk isn't exactly the MCU Hulk. This is sort of a precursor to the Ruffalo Hulk. Yeah. Ruffle Hulk. And of course, since they already had something I really liked about this movie is since they'd already had a movie with the full origin story. Yeah,
in recent enough memory. Yeah,
instead of doing the Spider-Man thing of just doing another origin story, they decided to just put the origin story as like a kind of flashback at the start of the movie.
A quick montage.
And then here he is. He's on the run. He's in Rio. We're not going to tell you why. Just watch the movie. Yeah. I really like that. And he's kind of doesn't seem happy.
Yeah, he does not seem happy.
Like a little dejected.
I am also pretty happy with the non-origin stories superhero movies, because you get a lot of origin story superhero movies. It's nice to just get past that initial phase.
And as well, like, even if you don't know, like say Batman's had so many origin story retellings, which always center in the fact that his parents were killed when he was a kid, which has happened to a lot of people. Like that's not an uncommon thing in this world that we live in for your parents to be killed. And so, what I'm saying is, I don't think that that's necessarily important. That really informs anything about his character. All you need to know is he hates crime. He's a billionaire and he hates crime. So he has access to whatever he wants.
And he's kind of crazy.
And he's a little bit out of his mind. And he chooses to put all of that towards fighting crime. And same with the Hulk. It doesn't really matter where the Hulk comes from. At some point, he was a scientist. Stuff happened, and he gained the power to, when angry or threatened, turn into a giant raging green monster. Yep. That's really all you need to know, and that's a fascinating story. Just that's all. But yeah, so in this one, he's working at a factory that makes Hulk juice.
A bottling plant, yeah.
A bottling plant that makes green juice of some kind that apparently ships to America.
Ships everywhere.
Ships all over the world. And he's like the smart
undocumented worker.
Yeah, he's actually doing the immigrant thing in reverse, because he's like the white guy working in a favela, who's like super smart, and his boss knows he's super smart and really wants to bring him on the payroll, but it's like, no, I gotta stay off the books, man. Yeah. So that's number one. That's really suspicious that a white guy is down here and wants to stay off the books. But sure, they could write that off because, he's obviously a criminal on the run or whatever, and it wasn't his name popping up in any databases. Yeah. And so the guy says, I wish you shouldn't be on the floor, you should be doing a better job. I want to put you on the payroll. And it's like, you don't need to be on the payroll
to do a better job.
Give him a better job. You can just pay him slightly more under the table. Yeah. But anyway, the important part is, this is the scene where he accidentally cuts himself and his blood falls into one of the bottles. Yeah. And we know why he's freaking out. Like, he runs down the stairs, he's out of control, he's like, turn it off! And he's running down the stairs, and he's like, he has to find that one specific bottle and get it out of production. Yep. And that totally makes sense. I know, because he's a Hulk, and there's something wrong with his blood, and he doesn't want anybody drinking that.
Exactly.
But from the point of view of everybody else who works in that factory...
He has AIDS.
He has got AIDS.
Some sort of disease that is transmissible by his blood.
Some bloodborne disease that, is so dangerous, he had to shut down the whole factory to make sure that none of that blood got... I mean, of course, you wouldn't want blood getting into the bottle, but, he's panicked. Yeah. There's panic in his eyes as he runs down the stairs.
Yeah, and presumably, stopping an entire factory from running, probably that isn't just a quick fix to get it back up and running. That probably puts you out of production for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And also kind of informs then his like bullies, right? So he like goes and rescues this girl. Which, first of all, did she not hear about his blood earlier? Like, he rescues this girl who's smitten with him, and then these bullies are just sort of, apropos of nothing, really aggressive towards him. Like they just hate him, which I guess could be a little bit racism.
Yeah,
but
it's
also,
probably racism.
Also, maybe homophobia, because this is clearly a man with AIDS.
Yeah,
who's on the run from the AIDS police. But yeah, this is also something he's learning down here. I assume is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, since he's in Brazil.
Yeah.
And he's got
and techniques to control his anger.
Sensei teaching him mindfulness and diaphragm manipulation, because somehow mindfulness and diaphragm manipulation stops the
rolling
Hulk.
of the belly.
Yeah, roll your belly, and the Hulk will not come out.
Yeah.
And then also he has crazy cool tech which allows him to, I guess, connect to the internet, or just like
I guess it's like a satellite internet connection.
Okay.
Because all he's doing is using text chat, so I guess it doesn't matter how slow it is, just as long as there is a connection. And
he's talking to some scientist somewhere who he trusts, despite, I assume, having never met him. He doesn't even know who the guy is.
Yeah, no, they've never met in real life, and they only use the codename Mr. Green and Mr. Blue. On my first watching of this, way back when, I thought Mr. Blue was a reference to Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
I was like, is he in contact with Reed Richards? Is that what's happening here?
It's in New York, right? That's where the lab is. Oh, that would have been so cool.
But this was back in my youth before I realised that
the MCU was a separate kind of business conglomerate and all.
The Fantastic Four and Sony and Fox and all them.
Oh god, another reason why I hate these guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is actually, I don't know if they ever did this in the TV show or the comics or the, well, I know they did in the comics or in like the cartoon or whatever. But this is like the story of Bruce Banner trying to find a cure for the Hulk.
Yeah,
like,
he does not want to be the Hulk.
Yeah, he wants to get rid of it. He doesn't want to learn how, and that's sort of very different to like the Ruffalo Hulk, where he's just sort of seemed to, I don't know if he's accepted it, but he's at least resigned himself to it.
Yeah,
and
can control it.
And has like
to a degree.
Well, he seems to have a tremendous measure of control in terms of when the Hulk comes out.
Yeah,
it's just putting him back in. I mean, like, you can't really control something if you're no longer in control of yourself.
If you're no longer there.
It's also another excellent opportunity for Edward Norton to wear wife beaters, which I assume he became obsessed with after playing a neo-Nazi in that movie where he
probably
exclusively wore wife beaters.
Yeah. So in this scene, he gets a mysterious flower package and like does something to it to try and make a cure, and uses all of it on
just lots of science, looking at beakers and like watching stuff go through tubes.
Yeah, lots of science. Uses all of the flour on like a tiny little drop of his blood, but his blood hulks out and breaks the glass. Somehow. Because I guess that his blood grows when it hulks out, just like the rest of them.
It would have to, right? Yeah. Like his density. But yeah, breaks the glass, and he's wasted all of this flour, which was supposed to cure him, I guess.
I guess it's sort of like the Batman flour from the mountaintop somewhere.
Like an Edelweiss. And so yeah, and that means, and so he's talking to Mr. Blue, and it's like, all right, well that's as much as we can do. Yeah. With our current setup, I can know, like, if we're going to do this remotely, like, you're going to have to actually give me something to work with. Yeah. So, like, can you come here, or can you give me some real data? And the only data that he knows, that he's aware of, that relates to the Hulk is from the original test that turned him into the Hulk. Yeah. Which should be at, is it MIT or like some college?
No, it's some college. I don't remember the name of it.
The college where Betty works, anyway.
Yeah.
But in between, sorry, we've skipped over the Stan Lee cameo, which is Stan Lee is the guy who actually receives the tainted bottle of Hulk juice. Yeah. Which, as far as I'm concerned, means that Stan Lee is a Hulk now. Yeah, that's confirmed. So any other time you've seen Stan Lee in any of the other cameos, he's a Hulk.
Well, there is that theory that goes through all of it, that he's a Watcher.
Yeah. And because he is a Watcher in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh well, he's at least used by the Watchers.
He's a storyteller.
Yeah.
Which.
But also, before Bruce actually sends some blood to Mr. Blue, he takes a blood sample, to test on, packs it up, and sends it out.
Oh yeah, Mr. Blue actually tells him that I can cure this. I just need more data.
Yeah, and so he sends him the blood.
I wondered about that. Like, when I was watching, he's clearly got ulterior motives. Like, it's someone who is as cagey and paranoid and on the run as Bruce Banner. Would your first thought not be like he wants more blood or like more data so that he can become the Hulk, or he can like sell the Hulk formula, or he can
possibly,
especially since it's someone he doesn't know personally, he's never met this guy. Like, it'd be one thing if he was dealing with Betty or something, someone trustworthy or someone from the original experiment, but he's just dealing with a guy who has an interest in
from a random encrypted internet chat room.
Met him in a chat room. Like, this is...
And this is another point I had. On his laptop, he has this special encrypted chat program. And then later on, when he goes to the college, the computer has the same chat program. Now, he could have downloaded it and installed it, whatever, but it just seemed weird that it was there.
It was on the desktop waiting for him, And of course, and as soon as he booted it up, it went straight into the messenger with... Like, he didn't have to click anything or invite anybody or what. He just opened it up and it was like, hey, Mr. Blue. Oh, great.
Oh, you're online
they have access
right now
to every computer, But yeah, and that's also how they find him. Like, when Stan Lee gets Hulkified, confirmed, that's like somebody calls William Hurt being like, Stan Lee just drank some Hulk juice.
Yeah, they had a gamma incident was reported.
Okay.
And so that means it's something to do with the Hulk.
I don't think I understand gamma. Gamma is a type of radiation, correct? So it's something that emanates from
it's
radioactive...
It's a photon.
Okay.
So it's a piece of light, basically, from the EM spectrum. That's a gamma ray.
Okay, can it be in blood?
No.
Could it be in blood that is like put into a bottle, transported across the country?
I guess if Bruce Banner is just constantly giving out low-level gamma rays because he's so he's so radioactive.
Okay.
That could be it.
All right. So that could be kind of like the Dr. Manhattan plot in Watchmen, but that would mean that everyone... So are gamma radio... Can they give you cancer?
Yes.
Oh, shit, okay.
Yes, very much so. And, not a lot can stop them as well. They're the ones that pass through matter the easiest.
Okay.
So if it's giving out low levels, then it's probably okay. But, it's probably he's not giving out low levels because he can turn into a giant green monster.
But apparently these blood tests show significant gamma reduction.
From Mr. Blue.
Which, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how you reduce the amount of gamma in blood.
It's just something to, I don't know, something to stop them being radioactive, I guess.
Alright. So yeah, he's talking to Mr. Blue. Mr. Blue is like, I think I've figured out how to fix this blood, but I need more data.
We need more data.
We need more data. And as this is happening, they're on their way.
The military's on the way,
They're they've been sent in, they figured out where he is.
They're bringing in the ace.
The ace.
Neil
Blonsky.
Yeah, on loan to SOCOM from the Royal Marines.
Originally from Russia. He's been a part of every major military there is. Despite being only, what does he say, 39?
39.
And looking 45.
Yeah.
Expert dog tranker.
Oh, yes. He's one of the best. Don't want to have your dog near this guy.
But obviously, so they break into his apartment, and obviously Banner has outsmarted them. And
he knows they're coming.
Already on the way out.
Because he heard them shoot the dog.
And so, they do some, crazy parkour. Well, no, they do some bad... They don't do parkour. They just run. Run and jump over things badly.
Nothing fancy.
But they're it looks a little bit like parkour because they're running through the narrow city streets of Rio.
Yeah.
And Tim Roth is a pro. His character, the Blonsky character is... They eventually do...
Yeah, he is a professional soldier.
But, more than just... he's clearly a professional soldier because he's wearing all that soldier stuff and he says soldier words and points with his fingers and soldiers do things. But what I mean is when they eventually do corner him and he's forced to Hulk out and he tears apart those bullies who have him he first of all he randomly runs into the bullies from work
he runs
in the middle
into
of Rio.
The bullies and then goes from where the bullies are to his workplace.
Yeah, to his workplace. And this is after running across rooftops all across Rio. He somehow manages
and going to the woman's apartment from his workplace as well, who
apparently lives directly
below him.
Yeah, so how are they not hooking up on the reg? But so he runs into the bullies, ends up in the factory. All the Marines surround the factory, and the bullies are taunting him and making him try and Hulk out. Which I'm wondering. So he knows he's going to Hulk out. Would you not try and knock these guys out, right? He knows he's been studying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They established in the first act.
But he's bad at it.
But they're drunk idiots, they're not gonna...
There's still 4 of them.
Okay, but just, what I'm saying is basically he's just standing there taking the punches and slowly his heart rate's climbing as we're watching his little watch thing, And I'm at that point I might try and punch some guys to get out of the situation, especially since I know but they don't know that there's a bunch of soldiers around who are about to make this way worse.
Yeah,
but anyway, my original point, he hulks out. He decimates the fucking bullies. The Marines come in, they try to trank him, it just bounces off of him, so they switch to live ammo, and like they're just getting taken out. Like there's a proper kind of horror movie couple of scenes where he's just snatching
especially because like you don't get to see the Hulk fully in this first time he hulks out.
Yeah, he's just
very like
shadows and like moving around and very quick things, and he's just like snatching guys and like smashing them off walls and stuff, and clearly like breaking spines and shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is. I started my tally here of how many people the Hulk definitely killed. And it's a good like 5 people or so here. But in this, so like everything goes to shit, and they're like shooting at something that is just bullets are just bouncing off of its skin. But if you watch the scene, like throughout the whole thing, Tim Roth and his guys, which isn't, I would say, like typical of soldiers in movies. Like generally, when the shit hits the fan, the soldiers go wild and just start blasting everybody and you know just charging and shit. But in this one, I really liked that even though they were like surrounded by the Hulk, well, surrounded, but like the Hulk was there and there's nothing they could do about it. And they don't really know what they're up against because no one has told them.
They're still, like, they're in a tight unit, they're like moving like a delta, they're all watching each other's backs, they take care, they move around corners slowly. Like there's a couple of scenes where Tim Roth like peeks a corner and then something comes flying down it and he's like, well, good thing I just took my head out and didn't actually walk into the path of that, you know?
Yeah.
Because he's a professional and they establish that he's like a decent soldier, like he knows what he's doing and he's not
highly decorated.
Yeah. And it was kind of, I think, like, I liked, it's got to be like my 3rd or 4th time seeing it, but like, more than any other time I saw this movie, I really appreciated his character this time, because, number one, they make a point of establishing that this is a really, like, this is a career soldier. This is a guy who joined the army as soon as he could, because he wanted to be a soldier, he wanted to be the strongest guy in every fight.
Yeah, and there's even a scene later where he's like, I don't want to be promoted, I want to be a fighter.
Yeah, like I could be a colonel.
What I'm good at.
I could have a desk job, but I want to be a fighter and I want to fight. I'm going to keep fighting for as long as my body will let me. Yeah. And that sort of makes him the perfect foil for Hulk, because Bruce Banner is a guy who was never a fighter and was just sort of imbued with this power.
And doesn't want to be.
And he doesn't want to be a fighter. He doesn't want to have to constantly fight. And there's actually a few scenes I didn't notice before, but where he'll have taken down like a bunch of people, and then there'll be like a calm, and then somebody will like shoot at him or shine a light on him or throw something at him, and he'll like visibly sigh like, oh, not again. And then he'll like, and it's almost like Banner was about to come back to the fore, and then the Hulk is like, no, that guy shot at me.
Something's happened.
More.
A helicopter shined a light on me.
Yeah.
Now I'm back in control.
I have to go. Yeah. And so I really liked that Blonsky was sort of the polar opposite of him in a lot of ways, because he's always in control. Like that's his whole thing. He's very controlled, and that's also the point that I was trying to make with this thing. When everything was gone to shit, that's when him and his guys got even more tight. Like they got super focused and they were moving really well. And even though they weren't winning, like he managed to survive in, I would call it, a relatively believable way. Like it's. The Hulk definitely let him live.
Yeah, the Hulk was just trying to get out of there, mostly.
But he survived where everybody else didn't.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to covet that power. Like that's his whole arc in the movie. Is he's seen that power, and he thought it was like a thing. Like Banner has a thing helping him. But then the William Hurt makes the mistake of telling him, no, that is Banner. That's what happened to him. That's what the experiment did. And suddenly Blonsky has this knowledge that there's something out there that can give me that power. Yeah.
There's more to the world than I knew.
Yeah.
And he already had this sort of, like, I am getting older, my body is failing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to be able to do this forever. But now he knows that maybe there's a way that he could.
Because there's the thing where, well, later on when he... he's already primed to go for it. Yeah. But William Hurt kind of gives him the soft sell of, like, how old are you, 45? And he's like, no, I'm 39. Takes a toll, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you know?
There's just really some manipulation.
Yeah, exactly. Just really like browbeating him a bit, and then like, I could. What he makes the point of saying, if I could take what I know now and put it in my body 10 years ago,
exactly, that
would be, I wouldn't want to fight that guy. Yeah. And he's like, I could arrange something like that. Yeah. It's like, oh, William Hurt. William Hurt really elevates this whole thing. There's just something so like calm and sinister about him all the time. It's weird to me that he's like kind of a good guy in the universe. Like I know he's definitely an antagonist in this movie, but in the universe, because he still exists as of Civil War, he's like technically on the good guy's side. I guess it depends where he would come down on the side of the Civil War.
Yeah.
But he's on the side of the UN, which
Yeah.
I guess if you're a human being, that's the side you're gonna have to root for.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he really he was perfect. I don't think anybody else could have convinced Tim Roth, like the guy from Reservoir Dogs, the kind of phenomenal actor, to he kind of turns into a teenager who just wants the keys. He wants the keys to that power, and so he actually gets the super soldier serum, or like a version of the super soldier serum that they were able to concoct from Erskine's original.
And I think they used most of his like original formulas. I think it's even the same color as the original super soldier serum.
Light blue, but they don't have the Vita Ray chamber.
They don't have the chamber, and they do like 2 injections, two into the neck and then one into the
spine, or
into his spine for the bone marrow.
Ugh.
And then obviously it works, but it like amps him up more, and he starts disobeying orders and stuff like that. So sort of.
Well, he gets the taste of power, and then he loses the run of himself.
Yeah,
and that's the kind of Jesus. That's another thing, because as he sort of loses control more and more, the Hulk starts to get
Banner gains control.
Yeah, well, Banner sort of opts in more. Like he says, like, okay, I'm going to try and take control of this and use this for something. Like at the end of the movie, he says, like, I can't control it, but maybe I could aim it. I could try and like direct it at something useful. But yeah, anyway, so Tim Roth loses. Hulk gets away. Turns back into Banner in Guatemala.
In Guatemala, yeah.
Which, let me just take a look at my map for a second. It's really fucking far away from Brazil. I don't know if he jumped across the Caribbean, but like, oh my
Super
god.
Jumped.
But yeah, he wakes up in Guatemala and decides now is the time for me to make my trek back to the United States.
Hitchhikes from Guatemala to the United States.
Walks over mountains.
In like 14 days or so. Gets across all of the borders in between. No problem.
And and he's back in, I assume, California.
Yeah.
But he just...
This is the scene as well during his travelling montage where you get to see him buy some super stretchy pants. Which is sort of their way of explaining away why his pants don't rip off in the movie.
He goes like, what is it, más stretchy? Or like,
something
or
like
tienes más stretchy? Do you have more stretchy pants?
He measured it up against someone's butt as well.
I guess he was like a fat child. And then wherever he gets back to, Culver University, I think is the name of it.
Yeah.
So wherever that is, he gets back there, which is where Betty is, and he does his like stalker 50 Shades thing of like just watching her from outside the window.
From like standing next to a tree.
And
then she like looks at someone who is standing right between them, and so he thinks he's been spotted.
He steps slightly behind the tree.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to, I guess, like the old pizzeria he used to go to when he was in college. It was really good, like an example of show not tell, like where he just goes to this place and he has like a small exchange with the guy, passes no real information, but you immediately understand that they know each other. He used to come here all the time, probably. Maybe they're like have a friendship or like at least like a patron
customer. And Stanley's Pizza.
And Stan Lee's Pizza.
Yeah.
And the guy playing the pizza guy
is the voice of Hulk in the original animated TV show,
which is one of the many Easter eggs they threw in. Which
because there's the actor from the series of Hulk,
Lou Ferrigno plays
also voices Hulk in this movie.
Voices. Oh, that is the
voice
when he's
of
talking.
Hulk.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and apparently is the voice of lots of other Hulks.
There's lots of real subtle, classy like cameos and inserts and stuff in this that are kind of a lot better than the way DC does it.
Yeah, but yeah, like you said, this show not tell. He goes meets Stanley. Stanley gets a room above the pizzeria, and then gets the all magical pizza delivery job with the keys to the kingdom of pizza.
Pizza can get you in anywhere.
Gets him past the security guard and then into the lab,
where all he has to do is give the lab geek a slice of pizza and he's able to access the encrypted server.
I'll give you this pizza if you let me on this university's computer. Okay.
And that's where he gets to talk to Mr. Blue, and that's also where he finds out that, of course, the data that he wanted from the plant is gone.
Yeah. He logs in as well using Betty's information.
Oh.
He uses Betty's name, and I guess he knows her password from way back when, and she hasn't just changed it because she's terrible at security.
Or maybe she like secretly hopes he's out there and will hack her.
Maybe.
But yeah, he gets into the lab, hacks the computer, finds out they don't have what he needs, and also Mr. Blue kind of bottom lines it for him, like, you got to get that or I can't help. So
without this data, I can't do anything.
So he goes back to Stanley's place and he's like packing up. He's like, all right, well, I got to move on. That's it.
Yeah.
And as he's like coming down to say goodbye to Stanley, he like pops his head in the door for a split second and then realizes,
and who's there?
Liv Tyler.
It's Betty.
Betty's in there with her boyfriend,
the head shrink,
and Super Handy is sitting on a stool facing the door that he comes in, sees him for a split second, he bolts, she comes out after him, and he is skillfully hiding behind a dumpster.
That was his best hiding in this entire film so far. The rest of his hiding has been pulling on his baseball cap and looking very conspicuous.
Yeah, very conspicuously putting his hood up and then looking around to see if anyone noticed.
Or jogging, seeing that someone has seen him, stopping to jog and then trying to walk away.
And then so he goes to his old standby of hitchhiking his way out of town, and of course she picks him up because
there's only one road out of town.
Yeah, I guess. So she finds him. They embrace.
It's raining.
Lovely.
It looks like he goes in for a kiss when they like hug, or she does, or something.
There's definitely a moment, and in my head I was like, I would love if her boyfriend's in the car right now with no context for what's happening here. It's like, and of course, even if he's not in the car, like he has no context for the reason why she ran out to the back of the restaurant, then ran back into the restaurant, and then ran out of the restaurant and got in her car.
Ran back into the restaurant, demanded that Stanley tell her if what she saw was real, and not to lie or anything.
And then was like,
presumably left.
Give me your keys. And headed to find him, and found him immediately, which begs the question, like, what's the US military doing? Betty Ross found him in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, although at this point I guess we don't know she's Betty Ross. Oh no, we do. It says her name is Betty Ross.
Yeah.
So
I think we don't know that the guy's her father.
Yeah.
I think maybe
that's like a clue. Even if they would be a clue.
Yeah, like even if they've named him General Ross, they haven't made it explicit at any point. But then there is the kind of opening montage where he's very protective of her, but then again he's a military guy, so he's protecting a civilian.
Yeah. Like especially because Banner was the person who caused her injuries in the montage.
But yeah, so anyway, that was something that occurred to me though. Was like, why aren't they surveilling Betty? His only real link in America left, like the only person left who would listen if he came to talk to her.
But he did say earlier in the film when Blonsky, like, because they had his laptop and
it's like maybe she's helping him.
Maybe she's helping him, and the colonel's like, or the general's like, no, we closed that door off to him long ago.
But how?
I don't know.
I feel like I got the sense that was just Ross trying to make Blonsky like keep her out of it. Possibly, like she's not part of this, and I definitely don't want you, who I'm not sure about, dealing with my daughter.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, if I was a general and I knew this guy had the hots for my daughter and that he was coming back to the country, I might put a unit on my daughter just to see.
Yeah. And he does seem like the kind of guy who would. Yeah,
just like think ahead, Ross. Although no, Ross doesn't think ahead.
No.
He doesn't think any further ahead than maybe Sonic cannons this time, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so him and Betty have like a night together.
Yeah, Betty has the data. She somehow got it out of the university. The
burned up lab,
before the military.
The military came in and rescued her, and she was in hospital for a while, like long enough that Banner came to visit her and was kicked out of the hospital.
Yeah,
and then she like recovered. And then get back into the lab and got the data before anybody else.
Unless she was just keeping an offsite backup the entire time.
Maybe, yeah. Seems like she seems smart. She's one of the smarter people in the movie, so I wouldn't put it past her.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're kind of having a goodbye back at the college for some reason. Like,
I don't know why they went back to the college. Actually.
Well, because it's a great place for an action scene.
Yeah.
And they essentially chase Banner into the building, which is the stupidest thing.
Well, Banner runs into the building, yeah.
But like they're hemming him in, like. But yeah, they chase him into the building, and he's like running around.
Yeah, you really shouldn't herd him into a populated area.
Don't corner him. And if you're gonna corner him, don't do it when there's people around.
Yeah.
But so he makes this first smart move he's made so far, which is to swallow the USB drive.
Questionably smart.
Like, depends how, like, where his skills are. Like, is he holding it in his esophagus, or is that thing swimming around in stomach acid?
Because that USB drive does not look waterproof. To say the least.
It doesn't even have a cap that a lot of them have.
It doesn't have a cap. It's just a bare USB drive. It definitely would not work after being in his stomach and then the Hulk's stomach.
But it's a nice thing to think about when he does Hulk out. Like, what's going on with that thing in there?
Yeah.
Because eventually they do trap him in that like conservatory window
hallway,
bridge.
Yeah.
And fire gas in, like 2 canisters of gas.
2 canisters of gas.
Like if there was ever a time for a Kylo Ren amount of firepower, like just every canister we have, fire it in there. This would be that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not enough, and he hooks out.
Like, he hooks out because they tackle Betty to the ground after she masterfully elbows someone in the face while running.
Yeah, because he slams his hand on the window and then drags his way up, and you can see that he still looks pretty normal, and then he sees her get tackled, and then like,
you see the eyes.
Control. Yeah.
This is also, just before this, is where we find out for definite that both the Rosses are related.
Because she yells, "Dad!"
Yeah, she stands in front of the APC and yells, "Dad, come out here!"
And this is the first time Hulk gets to like go Hulk in broad daylight.
Yeah, and you get to properly see him now.
And he looks pretty good. I don't like him as much as like Ruffalo's Hulk.
Yeah, I was surprised at how good he looks coming back to this film this time. I assumed coming back to it that he would look worse than he does.
Dated at least.
Yeah. But it holds up pretty well.
The CGI holds up pretty well. But I just don't like... I feel like Edward Norton probably had a hand in the look of the Hulk because he looks very intelligent. I feel like there's just something about him... Like, if you were to look at Ruffalo's Hulk, you kind of see a simpleton. You see, like, a big, dumb brute. You look at this guy, you're like, no, there's something going on there. There's something in his eyes.
It seems like he has more complicated feelings than...
Yeah. Like, he talks less,
Ruffalo's
but
Hulk.
he... I don't know, there's something about him. And he's also, like, very... lean, obviously he's huge. He's a monster. He's a big.
He's got a low body fat.
Yeah, like his body fat percentage is like sub 10. And it just doesn't fit with the Hulk. Like it's if you really pay attention to Ruffalo's Hulk, as big and muscular as he is, he's still like swimming around a bit. Like his body moves and it's gelatinous. Like he's a person.
Yeah.
And this just feels like a kind of idealized, a smart, lean Hulk. I don't like it. It doesn't suit the character. But having said that, he still is awesome. Like there's nothing quite like watching the Hulk out.
Yes, it's pretty amazing,
and it's a catharsis for anybody who's ever been bullied or picked on or just in any way had anger put upon them that they couldn't
couldn't act out upon.
And this is like the angrier you make him, the more he's going to act out. Like the more he's going to wreck your day.
He cannot be stopped. But Blonsky gives it a good try.
Yeah, Blonsky the old college try. On this.
Yeah, with he's basically Captain America right now.
Pretty much, yeah. Like he has the blue serum. They didn't do the Vita Ray thing, so I guess he's like not quite at Captain America's level. But like he's super fast. Like he's
not
easily,
as taller built, but he's super
he's
fast.
Easily as fast as Captain America was in the Winter Soldier when he like crosses the entire deck of that ship in no time whatsoever. Yeah, because you see him like running at crazy.
He's very
pace.
agile as well. He like flips over the Hulk. He like dodges out of the way of the Hulk swings, things like that.
And he's like his reaction time is like supercharged.
Yeah,
because he's able to the Hulk is like hungry hit on him
with
the
like
big,
these 2 metal sheets,
and he's just like kicking his way back. And then it even cuts to William Hurt going, "My God, he's
actually doing it.
He's doing it.
The super soldier serum works.
Yeah, I'm a genius."
And then Blonsky pulls him into the trap of Stark's sonic cannons.
Made by Stark?
Yes, they are Stark Industries sonic weapons.
Oh,
you see it in the opening credits. There's a blueprint of them. Of the Humvee truck, and it says
with
Stark Industries written on it. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
And then, I guess because Stark, they told him about it, it was like, we need something to stop this, and he was like, well, here, I'll just make this or something.
That would be a job for a consultant.
Yeah.
And then, they it seems to be working for a while. It's making his skin ripple, but then he picks up his like little shield.
Yeah. If he didn't have these 2 metal sheets, it might have actually worked.
I'm not sure. Was it making him weaker, or was it just holding him in place?
I don't know if it was making him weaker or anything, but it was definitely like incapacitating him. Yeah. It seemed to be anyway, until he was like could hide behind these sheets, and then just throw them.
And use them to like cut the things in half.
The Humvees in 2, yeah.
And then Blonsky, which I guess he's just like power drunk at this point, but like he just stalks toward him with an M16, unloads the clip, and then is like, "Is that all you got?"
And
kicked into a tree.
Stands like right in
front of him, like no fear whatsoever,
and then just gets snap kicked into a tree.
And you're like, well,
it's pretty brutal. Once again, early Marvel film is pretty like more brutal than I remember. You get to see a lot of people thrown through things. A lot of bodies go flying because it's the Hulk.
Yeah.
And then this kick in particular, he like rolls along the ground as he gets kicked.
And like he ends up like he gets kicked in the front, but then he ends up face first in that tree, which is behind him.
Yeah.
So like he rolls and twists and then just like slams. It's a real like visceral splat into that tree.
It is, yeah.
And then It's a helicopter crashes, right? Like Hulk protects Betty from something.
Yeah, no, Hulk. The general ordered the helicopter gunship to fire on the Hulk, even though Betty is standing right behind the Hulk from the gunship's perspective.
Okay.
And so spins up these Gatling guns. They fire like the streaks of bullets in traditional movie style all the way up to the Hulk, and he like protects Betty. And then I think he throws the last metal sheet at the helicopter, but the helicopter gets damaged and comes down anyway.
Okay, and then he shields her from the explosion.
And he shields her from the explosion again.
And then carries her off to his Hulk cave.
Yeah, and it starts raining immediately because there was a storm rolling.
There was a storm before.
I was very surprised when it just... helicopter crash, rain.
Maybe we should have established this, but before any of this started, when they were outside the college and they were saying goodbye, there was a storm behind the college that was coming, which I assume was supposed to be some sort of metaphorical thing, but yeah, it's really easy to forget that it was there, and then suddenly there's rain everywhere.
Yeah. And then, we see Hulk just jumps into the wilderness again, because he's real good at jumping.
And then carries her into a cave, and then when she wakes up, she finds out Hulk's weakness, which is lightning. He's afraid of lightning.
And the sky. Apparently this is pretty scene for scene taken from a comic, I think.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of it is like shot for shot from a comic.
Oh, cool.
Which I think like is pretty cool.
I do like the whole thing where he basically just screams at the lightning.
Yeah,
go away, lightning.
Like, he's kind of like annoyed. He hits his head off the roof, which just makes him more annoyed.
Yeah.
He's not really angry at like her. It's just angry in general.
But no, the lightning does like give him a fright.
Yeah.
So much so that he picks up a boulder and throws it at the lightning.
Yeah, he gets like it's kind of like he gets scared. He's like a scared little kid. He gets angry.
Yeah, that's actually that's perfect, and that's kind of the first time I really liked, I guess, like the Hulk's face or personality was this part where he hits his head and he gets all kind of sullen and
even though
petulant.
He's like a crazy killing machine monster, he seems kind of vulnerable in this scene.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was a nice scene. I liked it.
Yeah, coming back watching this after seeing the later movies, I was expecting like Betty to like stroke his finger like they do.
Oh, the lullaby.
Yeah, like the lullaby. Or I was expecting maybe the lullaby to be a callback to something here, but it wasn't.
Oh, that would have been really good actually, because that's something that he could have like in confidence told to Black Widow. And like this is the only person who's ever been able to calm me down was my old girlfriend Betty.
Yeah,
and this is how she did
this
it.
is what
Shit, that would have been great.
So I was like expecting maybe she like touches his hand or something like that. I kept my eye out for it, but I didn't see anything.
And then it could have been a callback, and it wouldn't have even. Oh, that's such a good idea. Shit, God, you should be writing this movie. But yeah, anyway, we go back to General Thaddeus Thunderbolt
Ross.
Thundercunt Ross. Who's like, he's basically written Blonsky off at this point, and he goes to see him in the hospital, and he's
just purple. He's a bruise. All of his bones are broken.
He's more bruised than man.
Yeah.
But they're still talking about this serum and about weaponizing it, and there's like at least like 4 or 5 different Marvel movies that discuss this idea of weaponizing things, like just taking something
and making
it a weapon.
Yeah.
And I just feel like. And it's not just Marvel movies. All movies do this. It's like some terrorist leader out there somewhere has gotten a hold of something, some biological agent, some chemical thing, and they're going to weaponize it. And number one, I know things can be weaponized, like radioactive material can be weaponized and become an atomic bomb. I don't understand the process behind it.
Yeah.
But I also don't appreciate the shorthand of weaponizing, like that. Whenever they're too lazy to actually explain what their plan is, they just say they're going to weaponize it.
Well, for the super soldier serum, I don't think they need to explain it. They just want to make super soldiers.
But I feel like that would be a more satisfying scene if instead of saying like we're going to weaponize it, or like I think it's actually Bruce Banner who he's like, maybe he's talking to Betty, he's talking to somebody, and he's like, they don't want it's the guy at the end, Doc Samson. They're like, but why does it, when they're coming in, they're going to take this his blood. He's like, but why does it matter? We have the cure. And he's like, they don't want the cure. They want to make this into a weapon.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, why not say they want to make 100 Hulks? You know, I just feel like it immediately puts something into your mind that you can grasp. Right, when they say weaponized, I'm like, okay, so they're going to put it through like a centrifuge and
and do something.
Yeah, whereas
do science to it.
As like silly as maybe it sounds, and I'm sure it could be written better, but just like they want to make like an army of 1,000 Hulks,
an army of Hulks,
or even in Iron Man, which in our last podcast, the Mandarin surrogate, the guy in charge of the Iron Man, an army of Iron Men. Yeah, exactly. Like it's more visceral. You can immediately imagine how scary that would be. You know, like 100,
especially because we've seen how scary a single Hulk can be throughout this film.
And like, if you unleash them, like I know you can't really control a Hulk, but like you could just sort of airdrop a bunch of guys from a helicopter. They splat into the ground and then punch their way out and destroy everything they see.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know. I just feel like that's a better image to put into it. So that's what's happening with the antagonists at the time. With the protagonists, he's linked back up with Betty somehow, and they've ended up in a motel.
Well, no, because they...
Oh, no, sorry, he rescued Betty.
Yeah, they rescued Betty from the fire. She fell asleep on top of him. He turned back into regular Bruce Banner. And then they went back into town to get clothes because he had none.
And a digital camera.
Very
important.
And then they went to a motel and started hooking up again.
Well, no, first...
Oh, they tried... Yeah.
First, she cut his hair.
Yes.
And then kind of like gave him a little head massage.
Yeah.
And then he sort of like just fell in love all over again.
Yeah. She's been touching his hair the entire film. He has his cap on, she takes it off, she brushes his hair. Here, she's just like fondling his hair, she cuts his hair.
I don't know.
She just has an obsession with his hair.
I don't know what kind of girlfriends you've had, but like, I've had a lot of girls who like to play with my hair, and oh my god, I should have been born a dog because I love it. I love having my hair played with. There's something so calming, relaxing, and intimate about it, and I feel like maybe that's their thing. Like maybe that's, you know,
maybe it's something they did before.
Maybe that's something that she knows keeps him calm, and that's the whole like the arc of the movie. Is like we got to keep Banner calm. And also, like, this is a guy who's been alone and on the run for years at this point.
Yeah.
Kind of as a result of her. Like, she was part of the experiment that turned him into the Hulk.
It was definitely his fault.
It was, yeah, okay. He made the choice. But what I'm saying is, she feels a lot of sympathy and guilt.
Okay, yeah.
Guilt, like, towards him.
And she's definitely still in love with him.
Oh, yeah, she's like, they're both completely in love with each other. But, like, I just feel like that moment... Like, more so than a lot of other... I thought it was a really creative way to show that intimacy. Like, because you can absolutely argue that it's completely innocent. Like, she's just cutting his hair, she still has a boyfriend. Like, she's massaging his head because he's clearly upset and worn out and he's had enough. Like, you know,
I think as well, I think at that point he explains that he gets flashes of what happens.
That he has PTSD, yeah.
Basically, he has PTSD from being the Hulk and being chased by the army.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
ages.
Yeah, like he has no context for these images. Like he basically Banner disappears and then he wakes up a few days later and he keeps having these flashbacks. Like when he's in the shower, or when he's in bed, or like whatever.
And
suddenly there'll just be like a minigun shooting directly at him. Like it's not even like a soldier might have a flashback to when they were like in a foxhole and there's stuff exploding around him.
Yeah.
There's stuff shooting directly into his face.
Yeah.
You know, like he has seen bullets fly into him. And he has seen like shrapnel from explosions just coat his entire skin. And that's like, that kills people, you know? Like you see that in your mind, you're like, oh my god, I'm dying! And then you wake up and you realise, actually no, that was the Hulk, and that's got to be a very complex situation to be in, mentally
complex
speaking.
Set of feelings. And then after the intimate hair touching scene that might not have been intimate, but then definitely got intimate, they start getting it on, but then his heart rate monitor goes off again. And
this scene I have a problem with because it's not just his heart rate, right? Like, it's not as simple as that.
Yeah, that's what the film sets it up as, at least, to explain it. If his heart rate goes too high, he'll turn into the Hulk.
Which I didn't like, because that sort of that makes it like this scientific thing.
Yeah.
It's the same difference between the Force and midichlorians. Like, no, there's actually a quantifiable thing here.
Yeah, as soon as, like, 201, you're the Hulk.
Yeah.
199, you're still fine.
So, and that's, to me, I didn't like that, because to me, the Hulk has always been a sort of...
emotional thing.
Like, more than that, what's the, like, not id or ego, but the anima. Like, you know, the Hulk is what's inside him, and so, in certain situations where... And that's the whole point, the Hulk is like you. Like, it's a way for you to vicariously experience what it would feel like to get to fully vent, right?
Yeah.
And so, it's his anima. It's like... When he's in situations where he feels threatened or he's afraid or someone's like really like pushing him
situations that he himself can't handle or is too afraid to handle, something like that.
The Hulk takes over for him. The Hulk protects him, like, or the Hulk, like the Hulk takes the leash off. You know, like the Hulk allows him
to do what he wants to do deep down.
And so, like, making it a simple heart rate. Like, if you go over this limit, you're the Hulk. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
You know, I know they were trying to come up with a way to show that he was controlling it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, and I know it would have been very kind of esoteric to have it be like just about mindfulness and meditation, and you know, it's all about him controlling his inner psyche. But I still feel like that would have been better. I would have preferred if they'd went that way, that he was trying to find a zen, because that's how Mark Ruffalo goes.
Yeah,
that, like,
he's zen about it.
He's just zen all the time, and everyone, like, Tony Stark is literally like poking him to try and make him turn. It's like, what is it? How do you have it under wraps? Everyone is so curious, and that's what makes the ultimate end of it, the scene of it at the end, so profound. Which I'm actually not going to spoil it because we're going to do the Avengers in a few weeks.
Yeah.
But so they leave the motel and they're headed to New York.
Yeah,
right, to go talk to this doctor.
This is also where we first get another mention of S.H.I.E.L.D. The general says that Mr. Blue and Mr. Green are now on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s like algorithms.
If they pop up.
Yeah, and if they pop up, we'll know. And so when they're leaving, they go to an internet cafe so that they can arrange the meeting in New York with Mr. Blue. Yeah. And then this gets immediately flagged by S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh.
Because I guess the general works with S.H.I.E.L.D. or at least has access to some of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s technology.
Well, he doesn't work with S.H.I.E.L.D. because when Tony Stark comes to talk to him at the end, he doesn't seem to know what he's talking about.
Well, no, he's working with S.H.I.E.L.D., but maybe not with... Maybe he doesn't know about the Avengers or anything like that, or the Avenger Initiative.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But he's definitely working with S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
Because I guess the Hulk might be something that S.H.I.E.L.D. would try to stop.
Or... Oh, yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah, because...
Or at least contain.
Yeah, because... You watch Agent S.H.I.E.L.D., but I don't know, that's kind of their MO, is like finding enhanced people and dealing with them.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Right, yeah, that makes sense.
At least at the start. Now they're in space. And they're definitely not an agency anymore.
That's for a future podcast. But yeah, so then they meet this scientist, Doc Samson.
Who is not Dr. Reed Richards.
Not Dr. Reed Richards, which, now that you've said that, I'm so disappointed that would have been so great.
I know.
A New York-based scientist who helps the Hulk.
Who goes by Dr. Blue, or Mr. Blue.
He's a little... like wacky.
Yes, he's an eccentric scientist. Like a lot of scientists seem to be in the Marvel universe.
Well, it's almost it's kind of ubiquitous.
If only real science was as fun as science in comic books.
if only like not playing by the rules worked out for you in actual science.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also, Blonsky's gotten like his second injection at this point.
I think so. Yeah.
He takes more of it.
So Blonsky gets up. He's completely fine. His bruising is all gone. He's got healing powers now from this first dose of super soldier serum.
Yeah, but and he's ready for round 2 or round 3.
He's addicted at this point. He needs more of it. He wants more of it, and so he's getting ready to go out again. But he's looking a little worse for wear now. Yeah, but
he takes more of the super soldier serum, I think, because then there's a scene where he goes into a bathroom, he looks himself in the mirror, and he's like, I don't look human anymore.
Yeah, like, and his spine starts to grow.
He's
bigger.
Yeah, and he's just kind of... I guess it's probably the same thing that happened to Steve Rogers in the Vita Chamber, but that was controlled. That was like they did it properly.
This is much less controlled.
And this is he's just taking drugs and seeing what happens. Like he's basically just a juicer.
Yeah, he's sort of starting to OD.
And so yet again, Banner is inside a science facility, surrounded by fucking
crazy machines, strapped to a table.
But the facility itself is also at the same time surrounded by soldiers.
Oh yeah,
who have for some reason brought guns to shoot the Hulk with.
You think they realise that guns do not work against the Hulk? And the only thing they're good for is getting his attention momentarily before he smushes you.
Yeah.
And their plan here is crazy as well. They
brought a .50 caliber and they put a tranq dart in it. Is the start of the plan.
Yeah.
Is like they know he's in there.
But I was speaking about the plan that Bruce and Mr. Blue come up with.
Oh, sorry, yeah, okay. So before the soldiers show up, they're like,
okay, what we're going to do is we have this thing that reduces the gamma radiation coming out of you or whatever. It can suppress the Hulk, supposedly. Yeah. But to make it work, we have to turn you into the Hulk.
Yeah.
And so they put all his blood in a dialysis machine, shock his head, and turn him into the Hulk.
Yeah, I'm not a biologist, but I don't think this makes any sense at all.
I don't think so either.
I'm not sure what their plan was.
Yeah, and then Mr. Blue, as soon as he sees the Hulk, just sort of stares at him and doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
and it's all up to Betty to like snap him out of it. And
he loves it. Like it's not even like he doesn't do anything. He's not even frozen in fear. He's like, oh my god, this is
frozen
awesome.
in awe. Yeah, frozen in awe, literally.
And Betty has to just get astride him and calm him down. Yeah. Another opportunity where she could have done the lullaby and that would have been awesome.
Exactly. Or like just like stroked his hand, or even like if she had done something in this film that the later film drew upon, that would have been amazing.
And I'm wondering, will Betty Ross ever come back into it? Because I mean, she's alive at the end of this movie, and this movie is canon. Like, and Thunderbolt Thaddeus Ross is in it, like, and he's like Secretary of State now. So I'm sure his daughter has an equally interesting position. And Thor's looking for a new girlfriend. So
that is true.
He likes scientists. So anyway, they do this crazy experiment, and it seems to kind of work.
Yeah, it seems to work.
He transforms, and then they inject him with... No, they inject him with stuff, and then he transforms. Then Betty calms him down, and then the stuff, I guess, starts to work.
Yeah, he transforms, and then she tells...
is he still connected to a dialysis machine while he's the Hulk?
He is. This was another part where I was like, wait a minute, would
they not just get popped out?
Yeah, exactly. Would they not just get popped out, and then all of his blood is outside of his body?
Also, if all of his blood is taken outside of his body, and they take all of the gamma radiation out of it, and then put his blood back in, would that not have the same effect as dialysis, where before you had kidney failure, you now have relatively working kidneys, where before you were the Hulk, you're now not the Hulk?
Well, presumably the rest of his cells are also have this gamma issue, not just his blood. So yeah, it might work. Maybe that's why temporarily he doesn't turn into the Hulk later on.
Okay. Or maybe he controls it. And maybe this is the moment where he realizes that he can control it. And or Betty kind of gives him... Well, they don't establish it in canon, but it just seems like maybe what actually turned him back was he was looking into Betty's eyes. Like, and he was like, actually, I have to turn back or I'm going to break her in half.
And that, like... To be fair, that's like she seeseems to be the one thing that does calm him down.
Yeah.
And does like.
Oh God, I can't believe they didn't. Oh, that's such a good idea. Shit.
And then it's revealed that Mr. Blue has actually replicated Bruce's
loads
blood.
of his blood.
Yeah,
somehow.
so there's just blood
Is
everywhere.
that a thing you can do? You can just take a bit of blood and make loads out of it?
Apparently you can do it in the Marvel universe.
Henrietta Lacks, because that's how they make the immortal cancer blood. You know that lady?
No.
Well, I think you can do that because they have some of Henrietta Lacks' blood.
Yes,
and they've been
making
it infinitely because something in her blood defeats cancer.
Yeah,
or like her blood doesn't have telomeres or something. Anyway, they call it like the immortal cells.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. But I've heard of that. I can't remember any of the details. But presumably he did something similar.
Yeah. So you can do that. So let's. So then they like. Then the trank hits him.
Yeah. The thing the military has been trying to do since the start of the film, trank Bruce before he turns into Hulk.
Yeah.
And they do it, and it works.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like the first time they're planning.
Credits roll, and the movie's over. Perfect. No, Blonsky comes charging up the stairs. He actually parkours up some stairs. He's learned parkour in the intervening time. It's actually what the super serum was full of, parkour.
Yeah.
And so he like busts into the room, knocks everybody aside, and just starts smacking Bruce in the face because he really wants the Hulk.
He needs to beat the Hulk in a fight.
He's always been the strongest guy in the room. He's always been the smartest fighter. He's always been
fastest, best.
Yeah, he's always been the best, and now he's been bested by Bruce, and he feels like Bruce doesn't deserve this power, which is something the Abomination actually tells him later.
Yeah.
And he does, and he wants to like Highlander Bruce. He wants to just kill him.
There can be only one.
Yeah, exactly.
And it has to be me.
And so after they like wheel Bruce out of there and they're taking him away in a helicopter, he like clocks the
he's left in charge. Him and the military aid woman are left like in charge of the cleanup and cataloguing of all this extra data. Basically, he knocks her out and then is like, "You
turn me into the Hulk."
Yeah, I want what.
He literally says, he's like, I want, but you've seen that, I want that. Like, he's actually like almost like adopting the Hulk speech pattern at this point.
He lifts Mr. Blue up by one arm because he's still super strong, and then Mr. Blue is all like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, but Mr. Blue does make the point that I don't know what you've already got inside of you and how it's going to react with this other stuff.
Yeah, I'm letting you know that I don't know what's going to happen. I just want you to know that so you have informed consent.
And he even says it could be an abomination.
The name drop.
Yeah, so they're like flying away in a helicopter, and a call comes over the radio, I think, from some soldier who's like, the Hulk is loose.
Yeah,
in New York.
The Hulk is loose. The Hulk is loose.
And like Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross turns around, and he's like,
"That's impossible."
Nope, that's not what's happening. So get a hold of yourself, son. Tell me what you see. And so the guy turns on his little side camera thing, and they look. And then, it appears on a screen on the helicopter, and the guy's looking at it, and he's like, well, that does look like the Hulk. And what's his name? Bruce sees it from behind, and he's like, "Well, shit! Now look what you've done now."
So he orders them to turn around, so they start flying back towards the middle of New York.
And Ross, always the creative thinker, is like, "Get us all the guns we have,
bring everyone to Harlem,
and just shoot them. Just shoot them with everything we got."
Yeah, we did miss something actually as well. As the abomination is being created, he throws Mr. Blue against the machinery, falls down, cracks like a cut in his head, and then some of Bruce's blood
gets in there,
falls onto exactly where he got a cut in his head, and his head starts growing, which is a nod to the leader from the comics, who's one of Hulk's nemesis.
Something Samson. Samuel Samson or something.
Yeah.
Which I assume was like supposed to be an Easter egg for a future movie.
Yeah, or like a setup for the future Hulk movies, which never happened.
Yeah. But yeah, so they find out that there's another Hulk loose. They turn the helicopter around. Ross makes the genius call to send every soldier they have to shoot at it.
Because that has worked so well against the Hulk this entire film.
And then Bruce Banner is like, "No, what you need to do is fly over it and let me jump out the helicopter."
Yeah. And this definitely has been called back from Thor Ragnarok.
Thor Ragnarok, where he jumps out and just
splats.
he swan dives out the door and just hits the ground.
Yeah.
And in this one, in fact, he hits the ground so hard he goes through the concrete.
Yeah, which makes me think that he started to Hulk out just before he hit the ground. Because I'm pretty sure a regular human would just bounce and explode or something.
Yeah, it would just be splatted. But yeah, and then like punches up, and you get that epic. That was the shot from the trailer with the Hulk's hand
coming through the
sidewalk.
The rubble.
And also kind of
we do get the fake out here though as well, because up until now we don't know if the cure actually cured him or not fully.
Right, yeah. Betty, as she's like, you don't know. Maybe the cure actually worked, and if you jump out, you'll just die. And he's like, well, I gotta try.
Yeah, I gotta try. And he falls out, and he closes his eyes, and he looks all serene. And he opens them, and they're not green.
He's like,
and
I'm not turning.
Oh shit! And he gets cut off as he falls too far.
Yeah, that was pretty funny actually. But yeah, and then he punches his way up out the ground, and he's like, "I'm gonna fight you."
Yeah, and then
he lands literally at the opposite end of a really long stretch of road.
Yeah.
At the other end of which
it is New York though. All roads are just long straight stretches of road.
And they run at each other, and Blonsky, being the superior and trained fighter, manages to like slip under Hulk's swing and take him down.
Yeah.
And Hulk seems really hurt immediately. Like he gets thrown to the ground, and he's like stumbling to get back up.
Yeah.
Which like that never happens.
Well, I guess he's never been hit by something as hard as the Hulk before.
I think this is what pain feels
exactly.
like. So he picks up a cop car, which he turns into two cop cars and makes them into boxing gloves. Yeah. And just starts wailing on Abomination. Though, to be honest, I think his fists would probably do more damage, right? Like bare fists.
Probably. The only reason to have like knuckleus is because they're harder, but I don't think anything would be harder than
his skin. Yeah.
The only other thing is for like added mass and momentum for the punch, but I think that's pretty negligible when you are the Hulk.
The Hulk, yeah. And finally Ross has a kind of change of heart and decides to help Hulk by shooting the other thing.
By doing exactly what Ross has been trying to do for the entire film. Shoot everything.
Which isn't terribly helpful, and also puts like crazy amounts of civilians in danger. Because that's like a minigun.
That's a minigun, yeah.
So,
on the side of a helicopter.
All of those rounds are going straight through every building you're shooting at and killing so many civilians.
Yeah, especially with the rate of fire on that.
And this is the guy who will later in the MCU come up with the Sokovia Accords and bring it to the Avengers and browbeat the Avengers, telling them, "You're out of control. You're reckless
for causing too much collateral damage.
Too much collateral damage. You're like killing civilians out there. We just can't accept this." And it's too bad that Bruce Banner wasn't in the room to be like, I seem to remember Harlem.
Yeah. What was that, General? What about New York?
Yeah. And also, of course, Ross, for some reason, even though it's a helicopter and a minigun, which has... I assume a minigun could shoot a bullet about a mile before it's going to drop off. Like,
yeah, probably
even
pretty far.
He decides to be like basically at point blank range with Abomination. So Abomination turns around and grabs onto the helicopter and tries to pull it out of the sky.
And then the Hulk grabs
onto Abomination, and then they all just go for a ride.
And they slowly fall out of the sky, and the helicopter's tail gets knocked off. And this is one of the movie helicopters that don't explode because it's filled with main characters.
But it does start leaking fuel immediately as soon as it hits the ground.
Yeah.
And everybody in the helicopter dies except for the main characters.
Yes, literally except for
even though all of those extras fall on top of the main characters.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how they survived.
Yeah,
but
there is one scene as well where I thought the minigun operator was alive, but it turns out he was just dead, propped up against the minigun.
He looks like he's ready to shoot still. He's just a soldier, you know. He died doing what he loved.
Yeah.
And this is and so Hulk has kind of learned, I guess, a bit more about how to fight properly. Like, I guess up until now he's never had to fight anything.
Yeah.
He just smashes things.
Yeah, he just like kicks them or punches them and they die.
So now he's putting some actual work in, and he decides that the way to do it is to rip off one of Abomination's protruding arm bones and stick it in his chest.
Well, again, like he doesn't. To me, it seemed like the Hulk didn't really care about the fight until Betty was in trouble. And like he seemed not to be trying that much. He was trying to defend himself and like get Abomination out of the way and stuff, but not until Betty was in trouble that he was like, oh, well, now I've got to do something.
Yeah, there's like the ticking clock of like there's fuel leaking out of that and there's fire over there. And like this is, but then so the fuel is leaking out and eventually it reaches the fire and ignites and the whole thing goes up.
And then he does the Hulk clap.
And then he just claps his hands together. And so much force of wind is expelled from that clap that it washes over the helicopter and extinguishes the fire.
Not makes the fire worse, which like air probably would. It extinguishes it completely.
Like, blows it completely off of the helicopter, and then the fire just goes out.
Yeah, it's just gone forever.
So yeah, I guess he's a New York City fireman now.
Yeah, that's. That's one of my points. Just turn into a fireman. and then we get the catchphrase.
The Hulk smash, yeah.
Hulk smash.
First time.
Slam the ground.
First and only time in the movie, actually. He's never said it as Ruffalo, has he?
No, I don't think so. We'll find out in future podcasts.
But yeah, he like it doesn't end the fight though. It's kind of a shame, but like, is he when he smashes the ground? Is he on a building or are they on the ground?
I think they're on like a sort of raised building. A building that's not like at ground level, that has sort of its own like raised first floor sort of, I think.
Okay, because like I feel like
I don't know what sort of building it is. It has like old Roman-esque columns and like it looks kind of like maybe it's a church or something.
Maybe. I suppose it's supposed to evoke a kind of gladiatorial thingamajig.
But yeah, he like smashes, so he creates a crack in the ground, and Abomination's foot goes into it, makes a misstep, which makes him lose control of the chains he's swinging, which goes straight up in the air
and then fall down on him. Which like, even in like Marvel vs. Capcom games, when the Hulk does a smash, like the ground, you know, it's like a seismic shockwave. You know, it's not like a crack that trails along and traps somebody's foot. It's like the ground just sort of gets launched up and then falls back down, but it's no longer ground, so you just sort of fall into earth. Like, that seems like a good fight ender. This was kind of a silly fight ender. Almost like they wanted to make it look as if Blonsky killed himself, so the Hulk was like absolved.
Yeah.
But then he gets him into a headlock, and he's like,
I'm
choking him out. Choke you to death.
Or gonna pull off his head or something.
And then Betty's like, stop that. Yeah. Stop it.
We can't have the Hulk kill his antagonist, because that makes him look like a bad guy, and it's just all about redeeming him and showing that Bruce is still in there somewhere. And
also I was thinking maybe she wants to display, because she's seen that he can take control.
Yeah.
Almost exclusively only when she's around.
Yeah, she's the one who's seen it the most.
Yeah. But as in, it seems like he can only do it when she's around. So she knows that this is her opportunity. If she can make him stop and make her father witness him stopping himself, that he'll have to reconcile the fact that Bruce Banner's in there. You know, like you can no longer just say that that's a weapon, that's property of the US government, it's just a Hulk, it's a monster, we need to put a leash on it and figure out how it works. No, Bruce Banner's in there, and this is his life, you know? Yeah. And so you can't just decide to end it. You have to take into account that this is a man who worked for you, who worked for the US government, was doing this experiment for you, under false pretenses.
Yeah, because you never told him what he was working on.
Yeah, you never told him that this was actually was going to be the super soldier serum.
Yeah.
And like, his whole life was destroyed by this.
You thought he was working on radiation resistance or something?
Yeah,
like that?
Exactly. That he was working on something that would make soldiers more radiation resistant, which he was fine with, but he didn't realize that they were actually trying to augment their existing super soldier serum.
Yeah.
And then anyway, so basically Ross is just a fucking hypocrite dickhead.
Yeah.
But in this scene, like he does actually make a point of there's a soldier next to him or something pointing a gun at Hulk, and he points the barrel down. He's like, he accepts that the Hulk is not our enemy. Yeah. Like, we've been chasing him and hounding him, and anything that you chase and hound is going to if you vilify something, it's going to hate you. But he's not your enemy. He's not out to get you. He's not out to destroy the US government.
We've been backing him into a corner this entire time.
And Betty finally makes them both see, like, you need to display that you're still a man inside there, and you need to recognize that that's a man inside there.
Yeah.
And then and the Hulk jumps away with his giant super legs.
Again, like, he's like sort of calm, and then a news helicopter, I guess, shines a spotlight on him, and he's like gets sort of tense again, and then jumps away.
And that's it. Basically, just then cuts right. It just goes straight to
straight to the Canadian wilderness,
somewhere in the vicinity of Logan's house, I'm guessing. And it's British Columbia somewhere. And anyway, he's like sitting in a hut. Well, no, you see him and he's like out for a run. Yeah. And then he sits in a hut and it's shot. He's like meditating.
He has the locket that Betty gave him.
Oh yeah, and he sends it back
to her. And then you see him meditating.
And it says 31 days.
The days without incident thing comes up again.
And then it goes. And then he opens his eyes and they're green. It goes to zero. And
I'm
wondering if just the fact that they picked 31 days specifically, so they picked a month, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe it's like a ritual. He's like developing a ritual where once a month he hulks out. Just to see what happened. So
that it doesn't build up.
Yeah, so it doesn't build up, or maybe just he's just testing. He's
doing science to it.
Exactly.
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, he's trying to science the situation. He's testing his tolerance, his limits, his ability.
Instead of trying to get rid of it, he's like, okay, I can't get rid of it. I have to understand it.
Yeah, I have to control it somehow. Yeah. So he's got this kind of Hulkstration where once a month he will bleed green.
Yeah. But this leads perfectly into when we next see the Hulk in Avengers.
Where he's because
he has control over it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the running joke in the whole movie where Stark is constantly trying to we have to save her for the Avengers.
Yeah,
but anyway,
we'll
that's
save
the
her
whole
for the
thing.
Avengers.
But yeah, and then the final scene in the movie is Stark finding William Hurt drunk in a bar.
Yeah, shouting reload.
Thunderbolt Ross. Reload. And he's like, William Hurt is giving it socks. Like, I love William Hurt in this movie because he's like, to me, he's like this kind of, he's of the old generation of actors, of like, you put him in a movie and immediately that movie could win an Oscar, that kind of thing. But he's like full on Marvel, not villain, but like definitely antagonist in this. And for one, he makes the sinister parts feel really sinister. He adds so much authority to everything that's going on, even when it's like a silly situation where a bunch of soldiers are shooting bullets at something that's completely impervious to bullets.
Yeah.
You just get the sense that this is a man out of time. Like he's been in the army for so long.
Yeah.
He has all of this in his head. Like, this is how you deal with these situations. But like,
and he's faced with situations that you can't comprehend.
Just outside his wheelhouse, and he's like sort of the old guard where at the start, and he's right at the start of the MCU, where stuff accelerates really quickly. The Vision makes a point in one of the movies, like Civil War, that like it was only 7 years ago or something that the first enhanced person appeared, and since then there's like world-ending events constantly, and there's so many enhanced people. And Thaddeus Ross is like right at the cusp of that, and he's still the old guard. And then when we see him next, it's actually kind of a perfect arc for him, because when we see him next, he's given up trying to shoot at these people, and he's like, we need to legislate these people. Like, we need to come up with a way for them to...
We can't control them, we can't...
We need to fold them into the system that we have, because otherwise they're just going to dominate us. So we have to make them a part of this, and we have to find a way to kind of regulate them somehow. Which is, it's great. It's actually a really perfect thing. And I think part of the reason why they were able to do that was because they had William Hurt. Like, nobody could have carried that off quite like, William Hurt was kind of, any other actor would have played him like a dumbass army general,
Yeah, I can see that,
Whereas William Hurt played him like an embittered, out of his element army general.
Yeah. Like you said, part of the old guard.
Yeah.
Like, he's been in the military forever. Things are changing now. He's not really sure what to do, so he's trying to keep a hold of what he knows.
Yeah, he's trying to deal with situations the way that it's always worked for him before, and it's just not working anymore, and things are accelerating so fast for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so that all of that leads to this scene right here where Stark finds him drunk in a bar, and he's like, and William Hurt is like, one of his eyes is half closed, and he's like completely bliss.
He's hammered.
And they send Stark to him to like, I thought they were sending Stark to him in the same way that like Nick Fury came to find Stark at the end of Iron Man in the Lost podcast. R.I.P.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be the thing now, where Stark was going to come and try and find the Hulk, and then the Hulk would go and try and find Thor, and Thor would go and try and find.
Yeah.
But no, it was actually Stark had been sent
to ask for Blonsky because
the Abomination, because they still have Blonsky.
Council wanted Blonsky.
Yeah.
Because he's a war hero, basically.
Yeah. He's a soldier. He's someone who's trained to take orders.
Highly decorated soldier who now has superpowers, and they're like, he's perfect for the Avengers Initiative.
Yeah.
Except for people in S.H.I.E.L.D. don't think that's the case because they know the true story.
Yeah.
And so they send the consultant, Tony Stark, to ask the
general. And it's part of the one shot, which is like a separate thing where there's like a scene in a diner with Sitwell, right? And
I think,
it's the guy who's ultimately the traitor. Yeah. Sitwell and Coulson, which you've seen it more than me.
Yeah. And so they're basically like, we don't want this guy. What do we have to do? We have to send a patsy, someone that like will ask, and he'll just get say no.
So annoying, that they just will not accept.
And then Coulson's like, no, we can't send a patsy. We have to send like someone who's really annoying, who'll really get under the general's skin, who just offend the general in every way possible. And they're like, oh, you're talking about the consultant? No, I'm not. You just described him to a T. And then the consultant is Tony Stark.
Yeah, and so Tony Stark basically goes there, annoys the general, asks for Blonsky. I wonder, did they tell him that they weren't expecting?
They probably told him, like, you got to try and get Blonsky on the team. We need him, so that like he would try in earnest, which would just annoy the general more probably.
Okay,
but maybe Tony figured it out because he's Tony.
And so they don't get Blonsky on the team because I assume S.H.I.E.L.D. are thinking the long game and they want to get Hulk back somehow, someday, somewhere.
Yeah,
and this is the first I didn't know about the consultant thing. I hadn't seen the one shot before. I watched this because we watched this right after the movie, and I didn't know about that, and I didn't know why Stark had shown up at the end. Like, I just assumed he's part
for the Hulk. Yeah.
And it's really interesting because that ties a lot of movies together, because it comes up again, I think, in the second one where he has his like performance review, and they're deciding whether or not to admit him to the Avengers Initiative, and it was like Iron Man yes, Tony Stark no, maybe on a consulting basis. And so there's actually a lot of
a lot more tied together. Like, the more you look at it, the more like little links there are to each other.
Yeah, it's a very cohesive universe, and the more you watch it, the more it sticks out. And if only you would listen to our Lost podcast, there's even more. There's even more links that we were throwing out that we were actually kind of spoiling future movies for. But Incredible Hulk is a lot better than I remember.
Yes, I'd agree. A lot better than I remember too. Overall, like in general, I'm not a huge fan of the like giant monster action sequences at the end. Like, they're exciting to watch, but I in general I don't like them. This one, on second viewing, it seemed like, well, I don't know how many times I've seen it, maybe third or fourth viewing. It seemed okay this time watching it anyway.
Yeah. I think the problem is just that
but with the Hulk, you can't really do much else.
Yeah, it's par for the course. Yeah. And that's the problem with any Hulk movie, is you go in and maybe it'll be a fantastic movie and all kinds of crazy stuff will happen, but you know the last act is going to be two monsters fighting each other.
Yeah.
And there's a very limited number of ways to make that interesting.
True.
And I guess they haven't found it yet. Like, and that's why they haven't made another Hulk movie yet.
Yeah.
Like, they
just
haven't.
Just have to wait till Marvel gets the rights to Wolverine, and then they can do Mark Ruffalo versus Wolverine.
Oh wow, that'd be
Mark
incredible.
Ruffalo versus Hugh Jackman.
No, but it won't be Hugh Jackman anymore. But yeah, all right, Incredible Hulk. It was pretty good.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I liked watching it. It was pretty good. Like you said, a lot better than I remembered, which it surprised me, because I recalled this as my least favorite Marvel film, but now I don't know where I'd put it.
Well, we'll find out.
We'll find out.
I was thinking that actually, so because this is a way that we can over time develop our list without actually having to just do a list at the end.
Yeah.
So this or Iron Man, which is better?
I like Iron Man more.
Okay, so and when we get to the next movie, we'll start.
We'll fill it in. So far, Iron Man, Hulk.
Iron Man, Hulk. So far. Yeah. Okay. See you next time on the Still Unnamed podcast.